Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Market Report on Cointelegraph. I'm your host, Benton, and we are joined by resident experts Jordan Finiseth, since Marcel is away on holiday, and we've got our friend of the show, Sam Borgi. Jordan uses his background in psychology and human behavior to spot emerging trends in crypto, and Sam Borgi is the business editor at Cointelegraph, where he brings a decade of experience in economic analysis and financial market writing. What is up, fellas? How are we doing today?
Doing good. Just hoping we can get out of this little bear funk we got going on. We'll see.
Yeah. I was always said a drop below 40 was be a huge surprise for me, and it looks like we just breached that level. So we had a nice bounce, but we'll see where it goes.
Markets seem to be a little bit in turmoil, but today we are bringing to you the reformatted show to bring you some of the information you can't find anywhere else on the internet. Today we are debating which chains will outperform the others. This is the layer one debate today, and we're going to be facing off between each other. Each person will have 2 minutes to convince the others why we think our chain and L1 picks will outperform the others in 2022. Once the 2 minutes run out, the other members will have the chance to cross-examine the presenter and maybe even point out some flaws and drawbacks of the selected projects. You all, the loyal viewers of the Market Report, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Can help us decide today which project you think will be best by voting in the live poll in the chat. So make sure you're doing that throughout the show today. We're going to be pitching you some of these projects, giving you some of the highlights, some of the nuggets that you can't find through hours of research scouring the internet. So let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure you're voting in the poll today. We're also beginning giving away 1 month subscription of Markets Pro. And by the way, it's the 1 year anniversary of Markets Pro. Happy birthday, Markets Pro. So make sure we're going to be plugging in your Twitter handle in chat. We're going to be selecting one of those today to give away that subscription. You want to have the power of Markets Pro in your pocket. So today, first things first, we're going to jump in for the quick market rundown and recap what's been happening this week. And then we're going to let Sam present first, followed by myself, Jordan, and then we're going to have a little Markets Pro segment to give you the coin watch, some of the tokens that were biggest movers, even during this bear market. It's a little mini bear market, if you want to call it that. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, Cointelegraph on YouTube. So let's go ahead and get into our weekly roundup. Danilo, run it back. That was your weekly roundup. Lots of stuff happening this week as we've seen the market slide. Don't forget, folks, comment in the comments today. That 1 month subscription, we're giving it away to one lucky winner today. So make sure you are chiming in with your Twitter handle so that we know how to contact you when we select our winners here at the end of the show. First things first, I think Sam Borgi has a L1 blockchain he would like to discuss with us today. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our first segment of this L1 debate today. Drum roll, please. Sam Borgi, the floor is yours, my friend.
So I was asked to select an L1 for this week, what I think is going to be outperform the rest of the market or other L1s. For me, the decision was very easy. I didn't have to think about it too much. It was AVAX, also known as Avalanche. Lots of reasons why I think Avalanche is going to completely outperform other L1s this year. The first of which, we all know that Avalanche is one of the best performing L1s of the past 12 months. But we also know that it's in well positioned to tackle some of the biggest issues within crypto, namely scalability, decentralization, or a lack thereof, and latency. So we know that scalability is something that continues to haunt Ethereum, even with the ETH 2.0 roadmap and everything that we've talked about with Vitalik. There's still a lot of issues about whether Ethereum can actually scale up to become the internet computer that many envision it to become. That's where Avalanche comes in. Avalanche can process over 4,500 transactions per second with no limit on the number of subnets. That's much higher than platforms like Polkadot. And it can also scale to tens of thousands of validators per subnet, which makes it more decentralized than Polkadot and other L1s. Ultimately, Avalanche provides faster transactions and lower fees than Ethereum, which means it's in prime position to take away market share from Ethereum. And that, for me, is a real important thing. I don't care much about other L1s. What I care about is who can challenge Ethereum and who can take away market share from Ethereum. I think AVAX is in prime position to do so over the next year, and I think its price is going to reflect that. AVAX also has excellent tokenomics. 720 million tokens at the start, half of which were mined in the Genesis block. The other half are being minted over time. The great thing about AVAX is it has a built-in burn mechanism, which produces more scarcity. So if you're a token holder and you can see that there's actually a reduction in supply through burns, that's going to be really good for the price. That's another really, really important factor for Avalanche. Also, another thing that people seem to overthink or not think too much about, I should say, is the fact that Avalanche is backed by some of the biggest venture funds in the world. Smart money is dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into Avalanche. You think they're going to go away without making a lot of money? They know a lot about this market, and they know that Avalanche will outperform. So we have everything from Three Arrows Capital to Anderson Horowitz, Polychain Capital. They've all dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into this market. And Daniel, if you want to share my screen here, I can show you some articles here that really demonstrates the massive potential of Avalanche. As I mentioned here, in September, closed a $230 million fund. Essentially, these VCs were wanting AVAX tokens for their participation in the private sale. That's all you really need to know about where this platform is going. And also another thing, why Avalanche is so powerful, it has an ecosystem fund, and that's raised millions of dollars to help developers actually build products on Avalanche. Lots of really, really good incentives for investors and for users and developers to join the AVAX ecosystem. Ultimately, I think that it's touching on every single major industry vertical, from DeFi to NFTs to stablecoins. And that's why I think it's in prime position to take market share from ETH. No one else really comes close, as far as I'm concerned, to being able to really outperform over the next year. That's why I'm selecting Avalanche. And if you take a look at the price chart, I know the whole market is down recently, but if you take a look at the 1 year performance of AVAX, it's been absolutely astronomical. And with the VC funding that it has, with the smart money funding that it has, I think that's going to go much higher in the future.
So it's real quick, Sam. We see some people. We got some AVAX fans in the chat here today. Welcome everyone from around the globe. Make sure you're chiming in. We're about to do a little cross-examining here, Sam. All right. And so, my question is this: when I hear AVAX, I'm a big fan. Love the project. Love what they've done. But what would it take for Avalanche to move and surpass Solana, which prides itself on the highest transaction throughput of any blockchain out there to date?
Well, I don't so transaction speed is really important, but I don't think it's the end all be all. I think there's other factors that are in play that are going to really help Avalanche outperform. One of them is also latency. So in terms of throughput, speed is one thing, but latency is another thing. Avalanche transactions have 1 to 2 seconds acceptance latency, which is very fast. And what that means is that it's a very usable platform. You combine that with the decentralization aspect and with the actual growing utility of Avalanche as a real world use case, I think that's going to be prime to attract developers moving forward.
How do you think that's going to happen anytime soon? I know they did the developer fund to try and attract liquidity and stuff a few months ago, and it's still not too many. I know I saw a tweet out there. I don't think it even showed up on there with the number of full-time developers. Ethereum has like 1,296, all the way down to Binance Smart Chain with 84, but Avalanche isn't even on that list. How are they gonna attract more developers to their ecosystem?
Well, they've already attracted some of the biggest names, some of the biggest projects, some of the biggest brands. We have the New York Islanders, for example, partner with an NFT platform, Orange Comet, that uses AVAX. We saw a play-to-earn game called Crabata that launched in November on AVAX. And also Deloitte, I'm sure you've heard of Deloitte. They're launching a disaster relief platform that helps local governments directly on Avalanche. So a lot of that real-world utility is coming. A lot of these grants that have been announced, it's only been a few months in the making. There's an entire process to onboard these companies to evaluate their value proposition before they select. But ultimately, we're seeing a very, very viable network effect. We're still early, but it's happening.
Yeah. So I guess you look at other L1s out there and it's like, okay, transaction speed's pretty fast. But when you look at like Terra Luna or any of these other things, like how does Avalanche really separate itself from the pack in that respect?
Well, I think it separates itself by the massive funding that it has, the smart money backing that it has, also the fact that it has real world utility. It's not just a pie in the sky project like a lot of others are. We're actually seeing real world use cases in DeFi and NFTs. So I think AVAX has done everything right. I mean, everybody wants everything to happen right away, but that's not how projects evolve. I mean, we haven't launched very far. I mean, AVAX has been around for a very short period of time. It already has the massive VC funding. The development roadmap is solid. All the technical specifications are solid. We're seeing a very, very strong and viable ETH competitor. I don't really care about the other L1s. I care about how it compares to ETH, because that's where the network effect is. And if there's any platform that is in a position to take away market share, it could be a few percentage points initially, but that's still significant. I think that's going to be AVAX.
Do you think that AVAX does ETH better than ETH does ETH?
It's getting there, isn't it? It's starting to get there. I think that's one way to look at it. I just think there's so much going for it right now, and as more users look for alternatives to Ethereum, Avalanche is already now one of the top performers. The hype is there, the backing is there. Now 2022 and beyond is going to be where everything comes together and you start to see more real world utility.
One of the big things that folks like to talk about is the decentralization of validators. Looks like Vikram has asked, do you know how many validators AVAX has and how decentralized are they?
I don't have it on the top of my hand, but I know that AVAX is structurally set up to be much more decentralized than Polkadot, for example, and other L1s. And that decentralization is going to be a huge element as we move forward. So decentralization, scalability, and latency, I think, are three aspects that Avalanche is going to really outperform with moving forward.
Excellent insights. And the chain that you chose today has a bright future. But folks, make sure you are voting in chat. If you liked what Sam had to say, cast your vote. But guess what? I think I'm going to be sharing my chain for today. So make sure you're casting your votes. Hint, Velas would be a great chain to vote for today. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and pivot. I'm going to make my little brief presentation. And looks like AVAX is leading the poll currently. So Sam, you have been selling the crowd today. The crowd is voting in masses for AVAX. Got a lot of AVAX fans out there, but I might be able to convince you folks about Velas. So just wait, hold your votes until you hear about Velas. If you're not familiar with this project, we're going to get you the information today. So let's go ahead and jump into my segment because we know I'm about to win this. Let's do this. Well, here we are, the L1 debate. And guess what? It's Velas. Maybe a project you are unfamiliar with because of how nascent and new it is to the L1 ecosystem. This was a blockchain that was deployed in late 2019. So it has not been around the block for very long. So why do you ask? Why Velas, Benton? Why am I so bullish on Velas? So I think that 2022 will be the year that Velas will outperform many other blockchains, like we saw with Terra Luna in 2021, like we saw with AVAX in 2021. 2022 will be the year of Velas. Why do you ask? Because of the transaction speed. So what happened was Velas forked from the Solana ecosystem and made it EVM compatible. What does that mean? Why is that so valuable? Well, this means that that developer community that's building on any other EVM chain, Polygon, L2, let's see, AVAX, you have all of these other L1s can now build on the same kind of network that Solana is, but now on Velas. And I think that's extremely valuable. So you're getting the power, the speed, the 50,000 transactions per second of Solana. And now you're bringing that over to the EVM ecosystem where there are a ton of developers. So onboarding into this particular chain will be super easy from the development. Now, I do also want to highlight a few other things. We're going to run through a couple other token supplies, because when I'm looking at chains, I like to look at the token supplies. So when you're looking at things like this, we have token supply for Ethereum, 119 million. Token supply for Solana, 508 million. Token supply of Avalanche, 395 million. Token supply of Cosmos, 284 million. And then token supply of Velas is 2.2 billion. And so when you're looking at these chains, like for example, Cardano or Velas, and they have these super high token supplies, what this tells me is that they have grand plans. They want to reach the entire planet. And if there's 7 billion people on the planet and you have 2.2 billion, this means that they're planning to scale at massive rates. So for me, that tells me they have a big vision. And so these high token supplies, normally I'm not too fond of them, but I think it does tell you where their head is thinking and where they could potentially going. So we're talking about outperforming. I think 2022 is the year that we'll outperform. And I'm going to bring up my screen real quick, and we're going to show you a quick chart, walk you through this. So for me right now, when this launched, Velas had a hot start. And so we've seen a steady decline, but it's recently rose in the past couple of months. And now it's actually in my buy zone. That little green box there, that's my buy zone. And I've been loading up on VLX. The reason for that is that I think there's a lot of potential this year for development, for building, and for Velas to actually take the blueprint of what other L1s have done and skip past a lot of the stages that all these other chains went through, because they've seen what has worked and what has not worked. And so with that being said, little partnership action from Velas for Ferrari. And so Ferrari is partnering with Velas, and that's telling you something. If Ferrari's fast, then Velas might be even faster. And for me, that's what I believe is going to happen, is that because of this transaction speed and the value that that can bring to an EVM ecosystem, I think that's what all chains should be. It's 50,000 transactions per second. When you click it, a transaction confirms and you're ready to go. Now, the only downside that I will say about Velas is that it's so new, and there's not a lot of backing yet. Now, with also that being said, they are issuing grants out. So they are looking for developers to come in and build projects. And friend of the show actually wrote this article. I must remind you, Sam Borgi wrote this little article about Velas. And so for that, I do say, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, if Sam's writing about Velas, then it must be a great little blockchain. So they have this grants program, 100 million. They're funding projects. And so for me, that, again, signals that they're trying to build fast. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So if Velas is good enough for Ferrari, it's good enough for me. And I think it's going to outperform any other chain in 2022.
Well, I have a quick question for you, and it kind of ties in here with Ivan Van was saying, like, if Solana breaks, Velas breaks, and Solana's having some struggles lately. I know they've gone down a couple of times, and like, have they separated themselves from that? Like, if that same problem, can that happen to Velas too? Have they solved that problem?
That is a great question and a valid concern, I must say, because if they forked that same code, I'm assuming they're going to have the same bugs. Now, I'm not a developer, so I can't really answer that question, but I would like to assume that they would be able to fix that. And so, yes, all of these blockchains have their hurdles. We've seen it happen to Matic, even though it's an L2. It's had its hurdles and challenges, but I think at the end of the day, we've seen these chains recover from those kind of downfalls and pitfalls, and then kind of pivot and continue to forge ahead. So I think Velas will continue to do the same.
Well, Looking at that chart, Benton, I think were those fib levels? I hope you're not using that sorcery to predict any kind of future pattern. Just saying there. Like you mentioned that Velas is new and it launched in late 2019. Well, I think AVAX launched after, and look where we're at. So I'm just saying, from a crowded L1 market, I see that Velas is barely a top 100 coin. How do you think it's going to compete in an overcrowded market where you have such powerful large caps dominating the L1 space?
It's tough. It's tough. I always like to go with the underdog. And you know what? When you get a Swiss piece of engineering like Velas, sometimes you just go with your gut. And so for me, yes, there are a lot of hurdles for competition, but I think the ultimate value prop of the speed of Solana is what is going to attract developers into this ecosystem. Because when you're actually using, I was actually staking the other day, it is literally you're clicking and within not even a second, the transaction is confirming. And I think that is the future that we all want. It's instantaneous. And so not saying that there's no value with other chains, but I think there is still tremendous value with that. And yes, there has not been a lot of funding around this yet. But I think 2022 is going to be the year. And these partnerships, when you see Ferrari and companies like that coming in and saying, hey, we like Velas and we're going to partner with them, I think that's a signal that more is to come this year. If
Solana adds Ethereum virtual machine compatibility, would that kind of take away like the legs out of Velas? Like, how would it compete with Solana at that point?
That's another good question. And you know what? I don't know what would happen. But the same has been said for Binance Smart Chain or any of these other L1 competitors inside of the EVM space. You've seen what happened. We've seen AVAX compete with Phantom, with Arbitra, with all these other L1s, and they're still surviving. And so I think at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to how many people are starting to use that ecosystem. In Velas, I think as they continue to build, more people will come there. And just like people will go to Solana and stay in that ecosystem, you're going to have the same thing happen in Velas, and they're going to become the true believers and stay and build in that ecosystem.
Yeah. Ben, I know you already touched on it, but the token supply, which makes me very nervous. Is that a fixed supply, or are there any aspects to having that supply reduced through burns or anything? Have you read into that with regards to Velas?
That's a good question. And I know we were talking about that earlier. This high supply is a little bit concerning to me, because when we have these high token supplies, it becomes almost like inflationary. And I think I did not see what plans they had to install deflationary mechanisms into the ecosystem. So that is TBD. I don't have an answer for that, but I could find out.
Cool.
Yes. Any further questions?
Do we have any from the audience? Let me see.
Let's see. What do we got in here? Velas run its own nodes. Is there use cases? So let me go ahead and pull in. Let's show you some of the dApps being built on top of Velas right now. This is Wagyu Swap. This is your DEX for Velas. Looks like they pretty much just forked a Pancake Swap. This is the same evolution we've seen on every single other chain where these forks pop up. They create their DEX. So nothing special.
This is reminding me of Tron, man. Like Tron just copied every other stuff in the back of the day. Velas is copying Solana. It's copying Pancake Swaps.
It's got that transaction
better than your chain.
No, it's my chain, and it is better. It's going to outperform every other chain this year. I'm telling you. All right, BitOrbit. This is a social platform being built on top of Velas. So I will say Velas is taking a little bit different approach. They're not going the yield farm and having all these forks pop up. I think they're selectively deciding the directions they want to go in. BitOrbit being one of them. It's a social platform built on top of Velas where you can earn, you can stake, you can do all this kind of fun stuff. And not to mention, I didn't even show you all the website of Velas. Just look at this homepage for a second. Look at how dope this is. I mean, if I'm sitting here looking at a website, like this is probably one of the coolest blockchains website. Like, I mean, for me, this is part of the marketing. Marketing is also part of this. We saw it with AVAX. They're doing a shit ton of marketing. Like same thing happens here. Look at this. This is a beautiful brand. I love Velas right now. And that's another reason why if they have the look and the feel, it's going to catch a lot of people's eyes. And that's why it's going to outperform others in 2022.
I'm just saying, Tron was good at marketing too, man.
Tron's still around though. Even though I'm not going to vouch for Tron. So yeah.
I'll give you kudos though, Benton. That's it's a brave pick to pick one that's a newer project. We're throwing up like Avalanche and out, like, yeah, good. That's a good.
It is a dark horse, and you know what? I will ride that dark horse all the way to the finish line for 2022. You know, like I said, I think it's a value prop. The transactions fee for me gets me every time. Everyone said the same thing about Solana. Now all they need is VCs. They need the money. They need the backing. They need the Jesus figure to march ahead with Velas. And I think there's a lot of pieces in place for them to start making those moves. Who are the investors in VLX? They are privately funded from my research. And there's nobody that has kind of came out and publicly disclaimed that yet, from what I understand. Good question. Very good questions. And while you're watching today, pepper in the questions. Vote for Velas. Vote for Velas right now. Do it. Do it.
And don't forget to drop your Twitter handle so we can pass out one of these free months to Cointelegraph Markets Pro, everybody.
Let's see. Chillax is throwing shade. Rug pulls have dope websites also.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, like Squid Games. Squid Game had a really dope website. Thanks, Chillax. Make sure you vote for Velas.
Is it, Ben? You don't see like the Wix or Squarespace logo at the bottom right?
I mean, I don't know. Velas does it for me. So those people watching today, you either love Velas or you hate it. Okay, but it's going to outperform. My chain is going to outperform all of your chains, no matter who you are. Whether you're watching, whether you're Sam, whether you're Jordan, it's going to outperform everyone's chain this year. Oh. All right. Well, that was my segment. I'm going to bang that Velas drum all day. So, Jordan, I will let you have the floor so that you can walk us through Cosmos and how no one is going to vote for it today. Go for it, Danilo.
All right, you guys can just forget everything else these guys said. Just listen to what I'm talking about because I decided to choose Cosmos. The ticker is ATOM, Atom. The reason I chose Cosmos is because aside from solving some of the issues facing popular chains like Ethereum, including scalability and transaction costs, Cosmos is also well on its way to becoming its own fully fledged like blockchain ecosystem in its own right, with multiple popular projects such as Terra Luna or Crypto.com operating on top of the Cosmos Hub ecosystem now and using the inter-blockchain communication protocol to kind of interoperate with all these other chains, which is another reason I chose Cosmos. I think 2022 is really going to be the focus is going to be interoperability. I think before the show, Sam mentioned like they've been talking about interoperability since 2017, and yeah, that's true. But I think Cosmos is one of the first ones to actually kind of really establish a network where all the chains within the ecosystem can interoperate through its inter-blockchain communication protocol, IBC, which is why I chose it. And now there's a project on Cosmos launching called EVMOS or EVMOS, EVMOS, which will enable Ethereum-compatible projects to bridge over into the Cosmos ecosystem. So it's really spreading out the interoperability abilities for the whole Cosmos ecosystem. And Cosmos is the base layer of the whole ecosystem. It's like the base chain, the value proposition for Cosmos is you stake it on the network and it secures the whole network. So all these other chains that exist within the network can operate. Cosmos is capable of supporting 10,000 transactions per second, as are each of the different chains on the network. So Terra Luna, a very popular stablecoin protocol, is on top of Cosmos. It can do 10,000 transactions per second. Crypto.com can do 10,000 transactions per second. Kava, which is a DeFi protocol, can do 10,000 transactions per second, again, with all these other ones. So the whole ecosystem is developing out different chains for every different kind of sector of the cryptocurrencies, whether it's NFTs with persistence or DeFi with Kava or Osmosis or privacy. The whole Enigma, which used to be on Ethereum, is now on Cosmos and is the secret chain in it is a privacy-focused smart contract platform. So it's really developing a whole ecosystem to cover every sector of the market. There's a total supply of roughly 284 million Atom tokens, and they can be staked on the network to help secure and process transactions. Currently, 60% of those tokens are staked on the network. There's a 21-day unstaking process, which I appreciate. For some, you can't just dump tokens on the market when things go bad. People have to wait for that. But another thing that I find beneficial for it is that they have liquid staking. So you're staking on it, can't unstake it for 21 days, but you can get a liquid token that you can use in your trading. So you can still access the value of your Atom token or all the other tokens staked on the network by getting liquid tokens, and you still earn staking rewards. So that's another added benefit, like multiple ways or a side way to earn a passive income and still trade. And again, the project's focus on interoperability is really going to start paying off in 2022, especially when Ethereum virtual machine compatibility gets onboarded and projects are able to bridge into the Cosmos ecosystem and be utilized in the growing DeFi communities. So yeah, and pay lower fees and stuff like that. Some of the chains in there actually have zero fees if you want. So I'm just really bullish on the whole Cosmos ecosystem overall. Interoperability is going to be the name of the game here in 2022. So that's why I chose Cosmos.
Okay, Cosmos, the king of interoperability. So that brings up the question: Is interoperability really the holy grail of blockchains, Jordan?
Yeah, we started with Bitcoin and it's all siloed over here. As Sam said, they've been talking about interoperability since 2017. It's the thing that will connect all the different blockchains, all the different DeFi, all the different NFT things together. Interoperability, the only way that the future world can work together is if all these different networks can communicate with each other. So I think that that's one of the biggest things that the biggest developments that's really needed within the space, and Cosmos is taking the lead on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you would go with Cosmos and this whole interoperability thing. Maybe I have a lot of flashbacks to my ICO days back in 2017. But if you think that interoperability is coming in 2020 the way Cosmos says, then I have a bridge to sell you. You know, it's one of those things where I'm still not seeing any kind of tangible evidence that Cosmos will be the leader of the interoperability future and how that's going to happen. So again, that's just a comment that I have. I know that you've addressed it. I gave you my remarks, but anything interoperability is a huge red flag for me because no one has it figured out yet. All these different platforms are so focused on building their own ecosystems that I'm not really seeing. I don't buy it. I'm not buying it.
Is there one that you think has a better lead on the interoperability game?
I think none of them do, to be honest.
So why isn't this one that has a focus on it with the IBC protocol? To me, that's taking the lead.
Perhaps.
So I have another question for you. What happens when the next interoperability chain, example Axelar, starts to compete? And what does a future look like when you have multiple competing interoperability layers? It's like that just seems like a giant cluster.
Well, it's already like that, isn't it? We got lots of interoperability. People are going from BSC or Binance Smart Chain to Avalanche to Ethereum to Phantom. They're going to throw in some Velas over here and eventually over to Solana. Then we're going to park it over to Polkadot. And then let's just tie it into Cosmos. I'm like, this is just going to be a really big, like, interconnected web of confusing. And in my honest, deep down opinion, the chain that's going to represent all, that be the end all be all chain doesn't even exist yet. So this is all like steps on the path to this future goal we're working towards. And I just think that Cosmos is actually contributing something that with focusing on the interoperability and inter blockchain communication.
Yeah, I have a problem with that because I think that the chain that will rule them all is Velas, and it's already out there. I mean, it's quite clear. I mean,
I don't think so.
It's all right. So I got another question for you. Why do you think Atom will outperform DOT this year? Just in regards to Cosmos versus Polkadot. I mean, it seems like they're kind of trying to do the same thing.
DOT's confusing. It's really hard to use. I mean, I've been in crypto since 2017, and I'm like, that's the one I want to use the least. Like, it's never easy. And I have to like study. I have to go read something for a couple hours. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do a DOT transaction now. Where it's not like that with all the other ones. And there was another point I had, but yeah, I just think that the different projects launching on Atom, whether it's the Secret or Osmosis, they're really feeding in and meeting the needs of the crypto community right now. And it's simple. Using the Kepler wallet is really, he is a salesman. Yeah, he is. Using the Kepler wallet's a lot simpler than using the JSON Polkadot wallet up there. So yeah, I think I like that. And like DOT had its time in the sun earlier in 2021. Like Kusama went up to over $600 early in 2021 and just the rest of the way down. They had these the parachain launches for both of the networks, and I was expecting that to really like kick them into high gear, and they just kind of like. Meh. So what's the next thing for DOT and Kusama after the parachain launches? They've already gone through, and that was their big selling point. What's the next big thing to really pop up the price of those? I don't really see it, but for Cosmos, again, it's the base layer of the whole Cosmos Hub ecosystem. 60% of the tokens are staked, 80% could be in the future. And it's just it's helping run the whole Cosmos hub. And yeah, I just see it's a better use case than Polkadot. I think Polkadot will be big in the future when they get their UI worked out. User interface, for those that don't know.
Sam, any closing thoughts or questions for this cross-examination of Jordan's L1 chain?
No, I've already raised my concerns, and I've been hearing the same spiel over and over and over and over again since 2017. 2022 will not be any different. You shouldn't be focusing on what Cosmos is doing. You know, the answers are all on AVAX, so make sure you focus there.
But the only way that people are going to get to AVAX is if they bridge over. There has to be interoperability for people to get to AVAX.
Well, you told me that in 2017 as well, so.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure out of all our projects, Cosmos has been around the longest, if I'm not mistaken. Yet they have the least, I guess, actually delivered, in my opinion.
Least what? Define least.
I'm saying like they've had the most time to develop with like the least amount of output. Is that safe to say?
How is that the least amount of output when they got the whole Cosmos stub kind of established now, and ability for multiple chains to operate? And communicate with each other.
Fair point. Okay.
A lot of programs that used to be on Ethereum, like Enigma, have bridged over here. Neil, go ahead and share my screen, please.
Oh, we got Todd.
Look at the Cosmos ecosystem. A lot of these projects used to be Ren. A lot of Seller. A lot of these things used to be on top of Ethereum, and now they're over on Cosmos. BiDAO. I know those are shit projects, but a lot of these, like, they're just expanding. Switcheo
rug pulls
gone from Neo over to this one. Even Crypto.com was on Ethereum. Yeah. Now it's on Cosmos. It's just like it's showing you that the projects want to come over. You can go ahead and drop that, Daniil. I'm just saying, like, Cosmos ecosystem's expanding. A lot of the projects that used to be on Ethereum are now on Cosmos, and they're finding it easier to operate.
I mean, you would imagine with 5 years in the bag that they would be able to land some big partnerships like that. So it's good to see it. Like, hold on, Todd coming in hot here. Guys, stop focusing on TPS. It's all about finality. I mean, Todd, you got a point. It is about finality, and that's why we all
got different ideas of what's the most important. I think they're all together combined the most important thing, and I think we're like. The surprising thing for me is to realize how early we still are in this game. Like, but we've been in here for 5 years, but it's still early. It's like,
It is. It is crazy to think about. We're so early on all this. By the way, it looks like AVAX is still leading in the polls. Come on.
Obviously.
Where are my votes?
I think we need to open the poll after everybody's presented. All right.
Yeah.
This is front loaded.
Yeah. Okay. We got to talk to the producer about that. We got to fix that because that's.
I think the structure is perfect. Don't change a thing. I think everything works.
So next time you want to go last in, Sam. All right.
All right.
I pointed out to people have talked about it. My real dark horse is actually I almost chose Algo over Cosmos. But just because
he's wavering. He's wavering on his pick now. He was going to do Algo, and now I landed on Cosmos.
You threw out your dark horse pick. My dark horse is Algo, just because like they're working with stablecoin issues and stuff like that, and pure proof of stake, man. Nothing easier than just putting it in your wallet and letting it stake. So
yeah. Well, make sure you're chiming in chat today with your Twitter. We're hawking the chat today, and we're going to select a winner for that 1 month Markets Pro subscription. It's a 1 year anniversary, by the way. We launched Markets Pro like 1 year around this time last year. So speaking of Markets Pro, let's go ahead and jump into Markets Pro so that you can get caught up to speed on some of the coins that pumped over the last week. Let's go ahead, Danilo, get us into Markets Pro, please. Happy birthday Markets Pro, happy birthday, because it's your 1 year anniversary. Okay. All right. We're going to talk about a couple coins today. Alchemy Pay, ACH. This was hot. Newsquake service. You caught it. Okay. And if you're not familiar with Newsquake service, it's automated alerts that instantly notify users about market moving events. Thanks to them, Markets Pro subscribers often beat the crowd to the most important news of the day. Let's take a look at the chart. Alchemy Pay. Wow. Is that an Elon Musk rocket ship? No, that's Alchemy Pay. You're looking right at it. It's that Newsquake, folks, bottom left circle or bottom right circle. And that white price line shows you what happens when you catch those Newsquakes. What happened? Well, Binance announced on its website that it will list two new assets, Alchemy Pay and Immutable X. Those who caught the Newsquake service was able to take ACH on a little bit of a rocket ride. Started at 63 cents. And in just 3 hours, it shot up to 90 cents. That's a 42% increase, folks. That's why you pay for Markets Pro. But guess what? We're giving away that 1 month subscription today so that you could have the power of this 42% gains on Alchemy Pay. That would have been a nice little uptick. Oh, by the way, it rebounded, bouncing back to 73 cents 5 hours later. Alchemy Pay. Love to see it. All right, so let's move on to the next one that our Markets Pro service was able to catch. Token was Internet Computer, ICP, trading under the ticker ICP. For those who aren't familiar with Vortex Score, it's a comparison between its current market and social conditions of those in the past. Markets Pro score of 80 and above is considered confidently bullish. Conversely, a low Vortex score below 30 indicates historically bearish conditions. On this particular chart, you see where the Vortex score cracked 80. It's that trade 80 strategy. Love to see it. And that white price line, it didn't do an Elon Musk rocket ship like Alchemy Pay, but I still say that's pretty damn good. And so it looks like we shot up from 30.21 to 37.14. That's a 23% gainer. And that's all on January 10th too, I believe. Yeah, all in 1 day. So if you got the Power Markets Pro and you see this and you're able to act on it, this is the power of that, folks. 1 month free. Comment in with your Twitter handle. We're giving away that 1 month subscription for Markets Pro for the 1 month anniversary. By the way, we appreciate everyone tuning in from around the globe today. If you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so now. New format, market report. We're going to be bringing to you live new projects every week that we're going to highlight, and we're going to give you the alpha that you can't find anywhere else about these projects. And we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be debating them, just like we did today. A lot of good sales pitches happening. I heard, a lot of people are voting for Velas now. Did Jackson just say Velas is in the lead? What? I think Velas is in the lead.
Not true.
Let's see. What else do we have for today?
I think we're done.
Final thoughts, gentlemen. Sam, I'll let you start with your closing thought for today. Jordan, and then we got to select our Markets Pro winners, and then we'll get into all the other stuff.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that if you're really looking at where to park your money as an investment, look at what the smart money is doing. Smart money usually has a good handle on where they're allocating capital. Smart money doesn't just dump money into tokens; they allocate capital, and the smart money is allocating capital to Avalanche in large sums, the biggest VCs in the world. Avalanche is doing a lot of amazing things with real-world use cases, and I mentioned them earlier. It should be near the top of your list of coins that you should consider in 2022 because it has the name brand, the recognition. I think it's a no-brainer in 2022 and beyond.
Well, I don't think that there is no-brainers, or there are. But for me, I like train tracks. What we're doing now, L1s, in my opinion, they're all worth throwing a little bit of money at. I don't know what's going to be the one in the future, right? My experience in this game, spread your bets out, not too thin, but pick really good, solid projects. And that's kind of what our goal here is, to bring you guys solid projects to give you the best kind of alpha going forward, and you make your best decision from that. But again, I like to spread my bets out and kind of, because no projects run at the same time. And so like one's going to run, and then it's going to fall back and take profits, and then put it in this other one, and then it runs. That's the way that I go. This isn't investment advice. This is my own process, but we might get a bear market for the rest of this year. We might get a bull market. It's going to be fun. Crypto never keeps you like bored, I guess. So yeah, take your profits and stay sane, folks.
Yeah, great thoughts. I'm going to give you my closing thoughts. Danilo, can you pull up Vikram's comment Looks like what's that? I'm getting reports. Okay. Yep. We're getting reports. The poll has ended. Okay. Looks like AVAX took the crown today. Looks like we got a lot of AVAX homers watching today's show. Had 50% of the votes, followed by Adam with 36% of the votes, and Velas. Guys, what happened today? 12% of the votes. Jeez. I thought I did a pretty good job. Okay. Maybe not. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's pick a winner today for our 1 month subscription. Congrats to Sam. You did an excellent job pitching AVAX today. I think you even sold me. I think at the end of the day, if I had to vote, I would have voted for AVAX too. Just saying. All right. So let's go ahead and pick the Markets Pro winner for today. Guys, who do we like in chat? Who is chiming in today? They threw their Twitter handle in.
This guy, he was pretty. This person was pretty active from the beginning. There's a couple. It's like, oh man, I don't want to like hurt. I'm like ignore somebody else. But I don't know that person. Do you guys have any other ideas?
Sam, you seen anybody in chat? Let's see.
Crypto News was
Looks
also
like,
pretty active.
Yeah. Actually, Vikram was chiming in today a lot.
Yeah, Vikram has some good comments there.
Vikram, you're our winner. Winner, chicken dinner. We're going to DM you on Twitter, and you can claim your prize, and you can have the power of Markets Pro at the tip of your hand, at your mouse, at your phone, however you want to trade, whatever you want to do. Markets Pro is now yours for 1 month. Congratulations, Vikram. We appreciate you chiming in. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. This new format, I think, is a lot of fun. We're having fun with it. We hope you all are chiming in. Let us know your thoughts. We had a lot of trash talking today, which was kind of fun. Mix it up in chat there. And we appreciate everyone joining today's show. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do so. Turn on the notifications so that you get one every time we go live. Next week, stay tuned. We're going to surprise you with what is next. Thank you for jumping in for today's market report. Until next time, over and out.